Good evening, everybody. Welcome to More Than Simply Sports. We are here with myself, Johanna Rosalye and my co-host, PLR. How are you tonight?
What's happening? How you doing?
I'm doing very well.
He sounded surprised. The what's happening? How you doing? Caught you off guard.
A little bit, yeah.
It's old school.
You ready to talk some sports tonight?
I'm always ready to talk some sports.
So let's kick it off tonight with one of your favorites, Paul. It's the NBA playoff picture. The playoffs are right around the corner. There have been some surprises, I guess you can say, with some of the teams out there with some injuries. You see that Durant got injured. So that's one of the major players that Golden State depends on, especially to make the playoffs. Parker, also for the Bucks, is injured. Also one of their players, one of their key players for the team, Kevin Love for the Cavs. Are injuries going to affect these teams and the playoff picture?
No. Maybe. It could. How'd you like that answer?
Wow. I don't know what to say about that one. You went from no to pretty much a yes.
I'll start with Milwaukee. Jabari actually is one of my favorites. Jabari Parker is actually one of my not just favorite ball players, but favorite people. So in terms of him, to me that really sucks because such a good young man and everything. And see, I don't know, because I don't really expect Milwaukee to go anywhere anyways. I mean, if they get in, it'll probably be an 8 seed, which means they get the chore of playing Cleveland first. So that's where I don't think it's going to impact them in the playoffs. Actually, my concern with them and the Bucks would be more long-term. Second, knee injury for a young fella on the same knee. More concerned about him getting healthy and getting right. Maybe it's for Cleveland, if Kevin Love should be back in time for the playoffs. So if that's the case, just depending on how he plays with the injury and how well it's healed and how they get him back acclimated to the offense. So maybe because they need him to win. They need him to win the NBA Finals. Could be is with Golden State. If Kevin Durant is right, yes. Now, obviously they won an NBA title and they were in the NBA Finals last year without him, but they gave up a lot of pieces. Let a lot of pieces go. Maurice Bates, Barbosa, Bogut. They let a lot of guys go to make cap room to bring him in. So we'll see. I think, if anything, if it affects anyone, it'll affect Golden State more, because I think Cleveland will not have an easy chance getting out of the East, but I think they'll have an easier chance, whereas Golden State, they will have to go through possibly a San Antonio, possibly a Houston, possibly a Utah. I have no fear of them playing the Clippers, because they should actually be the owner of the Clippers, because I think they beat them like 11 times in a row. They're in the Clippers' head completely. So if anything, that would be the toughest road. But there's other injuries too. I'm starting to rattle on, but Boston seems like they have a new player injured every other day. Al Horford's out for them. Mm-hmm. Toronto, Kyle Lowry, they're hoping he'll be back a little bit before the playoffs start so he can get reacclimated back. You can run on a treadmill all day, but unless you actually play a game, you're not in game shape ready. So he's been doing that, but he's coming off a wrist injury on his shooting hand. So we'll see. They made a couple nice pickups with the trade to get P.J. Tucker from the Suns, which is going to give him a lot of toughness off the bench. And then they picked up Serge Ibaka, which is going to give him some some bigs to play for him down the stretch in the playoffs and help protect the lane. So those are the ones that I think about more than anything when you get to Atlanta, Indiana, Detroit, Chicago, maybe Miami, maybe Milwaukee, maybe Charlotte. They honestly don't have enough to really be a real threat to anyone. If any of those teams do, I would say Atlanta maybe has the best opportunity. They still have Dwight Howard. They still have Millsap. They still have Schroeder when his mind is in the game and he's playing right. He's not arguing with his teammates at half court while play is still going on. So those are the teams that have a shot. I think the best team that can come out and probably hurt Cleveland if Love isn't back ready or back right would be a team like Washington, who went out and got Brandon Jennings and who got Bojanovic from New Jersey, so they have some bench scoring. That would be the most dangerous team. They're playing the best basketball out of that little group of next tier playoff teams in the East. So that's the team I probably would watch for the most out of the East. But yeah, injuries, everyone is hurt except for Washington. So hopefully they're keeping their fingers crossed in the East and then in the West. Houston's nicked up. The only real teams with a real shot are Golden State, San Antonio, and Houston. Utah's young, Clippers stink. Memphis can't score enough, even though they're a better scoring team. OK City's a one-man show, and Denver's going to get in because they have to have 8 teams.
To me, it seems like this year, you see injuries all the time and throughout the season. But it seems like this year or leading up to the playoffs, there seems to be more injuries, and that might affect the teams more.
It just depends on when injuries come. Like, Cleveland picked up Andrew Bogut. He played 58 seconds, and he broke his leg. He broke his fibula. So you just never know. I mean, last year in the finals, Andrew Bogut got hurt, and he couldn't play the last few games, which hurt Golden State. Same sense with Golden State, Andre Iguodala hurt his back, so he wasn't right. The year before that, Kyrie Irving, broke his knee, and so obviously he couldn't play after Game 1. So it's just, and Kevin Love was out because he got hurt earlier in the Boston series. So to me, it's more of it's not always a coming up to it. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm sure Cleveland would much rather have Andrew Bogut get hurt after 58 seconds now, so they go into the playoffs knowing he's not there, or Kevin Love getting hurt when he got hurt, so they know he's not going to be back and be right. Same with Golden State, because you can adapt, but it's when the guys get hurt in the playoffs, and you don't really know when they're going to come back or if they're going to come back. Or, Steph Curry got hurt in round 2 last year against Houston, or round 1, last year against Houston, and he sat out almost that entire series, if not that entire series, if my memory serves me correctly. And you don't want guys getting hurt in the playoffs. You'll take it now as much as it hurts, because either they're going to come back and you'll be all right, or they're not going to come back and you plan without them. And that's a lot easier. But, yeah, there's always that big injury that hurts teams. And fortunately for the top teams, it happened early enough where they can, either adjust or hopefully these guys are back in time.
Does it seem that these injuries may, with these players, key players, or with these teams not being part of the game now, but it's getting close to that playoff, to the playoffs, should we expect to see some surprises there of some of these teams not to seed, not to make the playoffs?
No. The only team that it's a battle for 8. So even with Jabari Parker, I would think he'd be good for an extra win or two for Milwaukee, but it's been Detroit, Chicago, Miami. Miami got on that real hot streak for a while. Milwaukee and Charlotte all year battling for the bottom 2 spots. So that didn't change anything. Hell, Atlanta traded their starting shooting guard and actually got a little bit, I don't want to say got better, but they definitely didn't get worse. And then in the West, like I said, Houston's going through some nicks more than anything, but it's not to James Harden, so it's not like, really affecting the way they play. So it's not really, because the top seeds, Kevin Love has been out, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and they're still the top seed. Kevin Durant's been out for a week or two now, they're still the top seed. It's not going to impact those guys, because LeBron James still plays for Cleveland, so they're good enough to survive regular season games without Kevin Love. And Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, they're still all playing for Golden State. They can survive those games. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think Klay Thompson is resting tonight, so they're willingly taking him out of a game. So I don't think it really impacts as much now as it would somewhere down the line.
Speaking about impacts, too, and you've mentioned a couple of times Houston. I've seen Houston come up and improve the last few seasons, and they seem a little bit like the underdog to me, at least. And they don't. Some basketball fans don't see them as a threat. But should the teams be afraid of Houston coming up to the playoffs and becoming how strong they're becoming?
I think Houston should be okay. Here's the best way to put it: should they be a threat? Yes. If I was betting on it, would I bet on them? No. Houston will win the first round of the playoffs. They're going to get through their first round opponent. If the playoffs started today, Houston would be playing Memphis. It'd be an interesting matchup because Memphis puts you in that grindhouse. You got to put body armor on. You got to do all that because they beat your backside. They're tough. They're physical. They're mentally tough. They're mentally physical. Zach Randolph doesn't seem like he's aging at all. You know, when he plays hoops the same way as he did, 5, 6, 7 years ago. So his aging process isn't showing like it does in a lot of guys. You have him where he never jumped high. He muscles you out the way, so he still doesn't jump high. Still muscles you out the way. Vince Carter's 40, and he still knows how to give you about 15, 16 good minutes. So, yeah, that'll be a tough out for Houston. If Houston stays in that spot, I'll say this. If Memphis beat them, don't be totally surprised. The problem with Houston is the same problem that I think every Mike D'Antoni team will run into. During the regular season, they're running and gunning, and you're not playing that style of basketball every night. So when they come in, you fall. I guess here's the best way. You get seduced. Yeah, you like that word. You get seduced into running and gunning and shooting threes, and they get you playing that game, and they got all these shooters, and they're spread out, and they're hitting their shots, and you're missing yours. So you look up, and you're up and down the court with them, but you're now down 15, 16. So what do you mentally do? Say, well, now I got to shoot threes. So now you start shooting threes with them, but they're still making theirs, and you're still missing yours. So that's regular season. In the playoffs, it's different. The only team you have to focus on is Houston. So they will slow you. They'll make Houston slow down. They'll guard the three-point line. They'll basically say, James Harden is a superstar. We can't stop him. We're going to stop all these other cats from getting these open threes. So it's a different game. So Houston may be the worst. Houston playing Memphis may be the worst matchup for them if that's who they fall to. But if they putz around and get OKC doesn't have enough firepower. If it's the Clippers, honestly, the Clippers are so mentally weak. With the exception of Chris Paul, I have no faith in them anyway. So to answer totally your question, no, I don't think Houston is overlooked. I'll take the I'm from Missouri stand on them, and you got to show me that they can do it in the playoffs.
Okay, interesting. I like how you use that Clippers phrase right there. That was nice.
The Clippers will clip. Just remember that. At the end of the day, still the Clippers.
Then moving on to some more basketball, we have NCAA. So that's, well, you can say the madness has started, really. So some of these teams have put up some upsets, and watching the game yesterday, Gonzaga with St. Mary's, that was becoming a really close game. And a lot of these matchups are